Hey, welcome. This is Jelle from Growing Bonsai. I am creating 2 trees out of 1. After watching the video, you will be able to successfully perform an air layer. So for an air layer, it is important that you remove the outer bark, the green stuff that you see on the outside, but also that you remove the green sheen that is below the outer bark. And the way to do that is not with pliers. You don't need to go all wild and cut it out. You just take a knife and you gently go up to down all around the trunk and scratch off this soft outer layer. You may have noticed that I've taken a slanted cut on top, and there's a very good reason for it. I don't want the root ball to have an horizontal spread. I want the nabari to go out unevenly so I can plant the tree later on at a slight angle. The key to air layering is quite simple. As the plant grows, the leaves produce sugars and hormones. These hormones normally signal the roots it is time to grow. Now, by interrupting the sap flow coming from the leaves down to the roots, these hormones accumulate at the cut site. By putting sphagnum moss at the cut area, we create an environment that is ideal for roots to develop. The combination of the rooting hormones accumulating at the cut site and the suitable environment for the roots to grow mean that the plant will start creating roots. There is one risk, however, and that is bridging over of the wound. There is 2 main things that you need to do to make sure that the tree can't callus over. You have to make sure that the cut site is wide enough. The second is to make sure that you remove the cambium layer. The cambium layer consists of a single layer of cells, and it's the only place where the branch actually thickens. Only in that soft layer cells are dividing. This layer is directly below the bark, so once you peel off the bark, as I've just done, you are left with a shiny layer of cells. These you need to scratch off. You don't need to go wild with pliers. You can just take a knife, go up to down and scratch it off. Next to this, alternative options are to just leave it out in the air for half an hour or an hour, or use a little bit of alcohol, rub it down, and also that way you kill all the cells. The aim is to have the cut site as clean as possible down to the wood. Don't leave it out for hours in the full sun, because you don't want the main wood to dry out. So most guides will tell you that you need to add hormones on the top of the cut. But in fact that is not really necessary. As explained before, we are using the natural ability of the plant to grow roots and the hormones that the plant already has. That being said, it doesn't really hurt to add it. So I'm adding a little bit of hormone here in the form of jelly, so that the top cut gets stimulated to start producing roots from day 1. And maybe it is a nice thing to think about. It is not actually the wood that is going to give us the roots. It is the bark, and particularly the cut area down here. This is where the roots will form. So in this section we will get the new roots, not in this part. For air layering you can use many different types of substrate. In this case we're using sphagnum moss. It's a loose moss and it has antifungal properties. By putting this over the wound, we are keeping it moist, and at the same time we allow access of oxygen into the wound. To attach it to the tree, I personally like to use a little baggie, and I'm just creating a pocket with the baggie on the tree. It is always a little bit of a fiddly thing to do, so if you have the opportunity, ask a friend to help you. I don't have that opportunity right now, so I'm just going to put it right on here by myself and hope that it stays, and hopefully I don't make a fool of myself here on camera, but it should work quite well. So what I've done now, I've wrapped the plastic baggie around the trunk a couple of times, and with a piece of wire I'm attaching it to the trunk just below the cut area. Now if I go in with my hands I can open it up a little bit And now I've got a nice container to put the sphagnum moss in. As before, the aim is to keep the bark just above the cut moist, but not completely oxygen free. So I'm going to fill it up, but I'm not going to put it in all that tight. It needs to have lots of air pockets. On the other hand, it should connect well to the trunk. So this is a little bit of a delicate process, and over time you will get used to how dense it needs to be. And then it's a matter of just closing it up on top. Again, I use a bit of wire for this. Note that it creates a nice opening on the top where I can water the layer when needs be, just like that. So now we have a nice air layering site for this maple. So I'd like to shield this a little bit from the sun, not because I'm worried that roots die in the sun, but more for overheating. After all my trees are in the full sun, and I'm putting an old container around it. With this old container, it is protected a little bit from the sun, and I still have easy access to the layer to see what is going on underneath. This will take 4 to 8 weeks, depending on the weather and how strong this plant will grow. Although air layers can be started any time of the year, the best results are when you do them in early to late spring. Especially for deciduous trees, this is the best time. Coniferous trees might take up to 12 months to root. Maples, on the other hand, can root in 4 to 8 weeks. Air layering is useful for a couple of reasons. This maple was grafted, and through air layering I removed the rootstock and it's now on its own root. This Saucova had a very bad root base, and through air layering I improved the rootstock. And the main reason for using air layering over anything else is that you can start with a very thick trunk, basically by air layering a big branch out of a tree.